So I'm here with OTT wrestler Keith Moloney, better known as Pa Ward. How are you, Keith?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you getting on?
I'm not too bad. It's nice to see you.
That's good. Yeah, I haven't seen each other in a while now since you moved.
It's been too long.
Way too long. Spar Perry's tend to pass without you.
I will be up for pints when they're allowed up there. It could be a while yet.
Definitely do it though. Yeah, should be sometime next year anyway. Definitely.
Yeah. So what have you been up to through lockdown and all that?
Well, not really much you can get up to, I suppose. Like, but kind of just started a masters in September and teaching. That's going well. So teaching now during the week and then doing college during the week as well. College from home. It's a bit annoying, but like, there's nothing you can do at the moment. Like, so yeah.
It's not the same, is it?
No, it's like there's all sorts of technical issues that happen. Like, especially like my laptop is just terrible, so it freezes at any opportunity. So it's just really, really hard to get anything done at home. And the motivation isn't there either. Like, it's just way too hard.
Yeah, you can just stay in bed and do everything. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you're probably better off on your phone.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I think that I've been doing it now the last few weeks on my phone, like watching lectures and like doing stuff like that. But it's kind of just like I said. It's if I wanted to do an assignment, I'd go to the library in college, but just can't even do that now. So it's way too hard to get motivated at home.
Yeah, that's what I used to do as well. Just go into the library because you'd be guaranteed, right? I've gone in here for 4 hours. Shit's going to get done, and then I can go out with the piss or do whatever I want. But the library was always a safe space.
Yeah, that's it. And then you go to the pool afterwards.
Yeah, to celebrate. How did you get into wrestling?
Well, like everybody, like I watched it when I was younger, and then there was me and my mate were talking for ages. Like, oh, we'll go up and we'll do it one day, and we'll definitely like give it a go. And then because we thought it was ages away, we thought it was it was in Inchicore at the time. We thought that was a world away, and then looked it up, and it said that there was a free wrestling training trial class, and I looked it up, and it was around the back of the Stoneboat in Kimmage. And I was like, just around. Yeah. And I was like, if I hadn't known that ages ago, I would be training since I was maybe like 12 or something. Like, but no, yeah, no. So I was 16 when I started. I started in main stage. Yeah, Johnny Notaro and Bam Kadraz were my first trainers, and then Joe came back from the States a few months later, and then the rest is kind of history.
Was that after Joe was in NXT?
Joe was in America when I joined, and then a few months later, I think it was, I joined in the May or March. I think it was May, and then by September he was back, and he was our full-time trainer. Learned, like, he's just got such a great mind in the business. Like, it's absolutely unbelievable. Like, it's like he'll say something and it'll just make sense like that. It just clicks. So definitely one of the best trainers in the world. So we were very lucky to have him since I was 16.
Yeah, because before the pandemic, the wrestling in this country was just going up and up and up and up. And obviously it's hit a point now kind of where the whole entertainment sector has really. So it's going to be, when things get back to normal, do you think the crowds and all will still be there and up for it? Or do you think it'll have to be kind of built back up again?
Yeah, I think we had this conversation, a few of the lads from wrestling, and we were saying that I think now that it's going to just absolutely skyrocket again. Like, I think people have just been away from it for too long, and you could literally put on any sort of show and people will go. Like, I mean, Phoenix Wrestling in Cork put on a show where they didn't have, like, it was kind of just like trainees and stuff, because at the time Dublin had the most cases, and so not a lot of people were, and then Dublin went into lockdown itself, and then so they weren't getting any Dublin talent in, so it was kind of just their own homegrown stuff. But like, there were so many people who went to see it because it was wrestling, like, still some good talent down in Phoenix, really good talent. And but like I said, like, just people are just going to flock, I'd say, just to these things. Same with concerts and gigs and stuff. But people are just going to flock to them because they haven't seen them in so long. You know what I mean?
Have you been down in Phoenix? Wrestling?
Yeah, wrestled on their opening show, their first ever show in the Kino, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then we did another show in Dolan's in Limerick. And that was pretty. That was it was me and Joe against Club Tropicana, and we really good match. I enjoyed it, and we came out to a live band playing Rocky Road to Dublin as well. So that was really cool.
Deadly.
Like Jericho at every pay-per-view in like 2003.
Dolan's a pretty big venue.
It's really intimate. So like there's no guardrails or anything. There's like the crowd are just like right beside the ring. And then they're up on a balcony as well. So it's really, really good when it's sold out. And it's like I said, like this, I think the smaller the venue and the more people that are in it, the bigger the atmosphere and how like it's just really, really good. Yeah, Dolan's was definitely one of my favorite places to work. Even though I had an orange jersey robbed there in OTT, but we'll talk about that later.
In terms of OTT and the characters that you and Joe and Rocky Mac were portraying, like, how did that conversation come about, or how did you come up with the idea?
No, it's a funny story. I was struggling when I was 17, and I was struggling to get a gimmick. I was just this lad that would just get jobbed out to everyone. And then because I was so skinny and small, like, and then I came to Joe and I said, like, because he had come back from the States and he didn't really want to do Luther Ward anymore. He was going to go back to doing Omen and then just doing shows as Omen. And so I went up to him and I was like, oh, do you mind if I have that gimmick? Would I be able to use that? And he was like, you can have it. Take it all you want. Like, and so he then got a message from a place in Germany, I think it was. And like he hadn't wrestled as Luther Ward on anything else but house shows for NXT. So I don't know how they knew him as Luther Ward, but they messaged him saying, "Oh, can you like send us a video as Luther Ward, and then we're gonna book you as Luther Ward." So he was like, we were down in training one day, and he got me and the lad who's now Terry Thatcher to be in the background as like members of the Ward family. And yeah, kind of just went from there. That video blew up then on the internet, and then we decided that we were going to do some more. And actually, that video blew up, and then there was a house show, so it was like down where we trained. We had a show, and nobody really wanted to kind of take their part on it. They were like, "Oh, we don't think we're ready for it yet." Now, obviously, I thought I was, and I was like, so I had a few shows on my belt. I was a bit confident from training with a lot. And Joe said he was going to work it then, and I had told him I had asked him before about taking the gimmick, and he was like, "Oh, I'll just work it with you then." And so we did a tag team, me and him, and again we put out a video before that, and it blew up again. And then we did that match, and he was enjoying it then, and the two of us just decided we'd go for it. And Rocky Mac was involved because Joe was looking for someone with an Adidas, like a kind of like a jacket, like a really old jacket, and Rocky Mac texted him saying, "Oh, I've got one in the car if you want it." And then that's how he kind of joined in. His personality is so funny and so like big that he was always gonna blow up, like, no matter what. But yeah, that's how it became. But yeah, no, it's a long story, but it's a good one. But then obviously after that we went and did all those videos that are online, still on YouTube. And again, it was all just about getting all the content out there, and then people just eating up that content and then loving it and then wanting more. Yeah, that's it really.
Did you ever get any stick from people for the characters or anything like that?
We got one. It was on our first show. Our first big show was the Warts. We were told that, like, because there was certain people around the area that wanted to, that had seen the videos, we're going to come down to the show. We were told.
Right.
We were like, oh geez, what do we do? We were told that like if they step into the ring, like we can essentially beat the fuck out of them. To use Joe's term, it was launch them like a website. um, but yeah, no, in the end they didn't end up showing up. Like, but it was just they'd seen the stuff online and they were like, oh, who are these people? Like, are they, taking the piss or whatever? We're gonna come down there. And so the whole day was just full of, oh, are they coming? Are they not? Are they not coming? Like it was
and, and
mental.
you're and you're trying to worry about like doing a show and getting
Yeah,
everything right, and then that's in your head as well.
that was my first ever like big show. Like all the other shows had been on in like where we trained. So that was in a GAA hall in Tala, St. Mark's. And so we were like I was still only 17 at the time. So I was fairly like nervous, but and that was kind of the last thing I needed to be worrying about was somebody coming in and beating us up. Like
What memories have you got from the Tivoli? It was a fantastic venue.
oh, it's so good. Like yeah, I just remember there's so much to remember. Like we were the first ever show will always be in my mind. Like that was that.
Which one was that now? Who was at that? Because I think I was at that one.
Was
that?
Buck PG. That was us against the lads from the flat in the main.
Yes, I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, such a good like. It was strange because we didn't know how many we were gonna get. We were real like, we were real nervous because the whole for ages Ireland was always just full of wrestling that was kid friendly and family friendly. And then we were like, right, well, we need to make something like what ICW were doing, like what so many things like CZW in America were doing. And we were kind of wondering, is there really a market there for it in Ireland? And first few shows, like they may not have sold out, but the atmosphere was like it was sold out. I mean, people just loved it, and then the talent that was on it. Like, I remember I was in school that day as well. Like it was a Friday, October 3rd, 2014, and I was in school, and for the whole day I was just shitting myself. Like because 17-year-old in the main event of Ireland's first ever over 18 show, absolutely pooing myself in school. Like, but then you go to the venue then later on, and like it's just it was just so nice because it was just like I said earlier on about Dolan's, like it's real small and like real intimate, and that's what's so great about it, like the atmosphere in there. Like we said, if we went to a place that was bigger, we were worried that the atmosphere wouldn't be the same. And now it's a shame that it's gone, because I had some of my best matches in there, like my match with Paul Tracy, match against obviously the lads from the flats was a brilliant match. I always loved working them. The Kings of the North, like just kind of it just brings back great memories of a time in my life when I was, when I was really involved with wrestling before I got injured. Like,
I went with my friend Kevin, who doesn't watch wrestling, and when we left there, he turned to me and said, "That's the best tenner I ever spent."
Yeah, that's what we said as well. We were like, look, we're not just looking to attract people that want to watch wrestling. We're attracting people that want to see entertainment, and like it's in town as well. It ends at about 10:30, so come there, have a few drinks, and then head out later that night. Do you know what I mean? That's what it was, and there was some good drinks deals that in that Tivoli. I just I wasn't old enough to partake in them after the shows.
There was cans and Jaeger bombs and everything. It was great.
It was like 4 cans for tenner or something ridiculous like that. But yeah, no, it's definitely somewhere that's like the shows are getting bigger in Ireland. Definitely, OTT is one of the biggest companies in the world, definitely the biggest in Europe, but I just don't think it's ever going to be the same without the Tivoli. I think the Tivoli is just such an amazing venue, and even with like, we went back there 2 years ago for the last ever show, and I was so privileged to be a part of that, like, and wrestling Paul Tracy and Charlie Sterling. I was terrible in that match as well. I was absolutely shocking, but that was my first time wrestling there for 2 years. before that, and I remember going out there and just like it just felt the exact same, and it was just amazing, great feeling. Like it's somewhere that's definitely going to be so like really really important to me forever. Yeah, just a shame it's gone now. Like
I think shortly after that event, I think it could have been 6 weeks or 2 months later, it was the Cebu event. Remember when Cebu came over?
yeah, that was in May the year after, I think, or April. That was a mental show.
Yeah, because Kevin, of course, that loved the first show, was like, "Oh, I'll go back." And wasn't Sabu broke his ribs that night, yeah?
Yeah, he was
On the guardrail.
absolute monster. Like, and then he was. Oh no, I didn't really watch that match, but I remember seeing the highlights back, and he tried to do a dive, and I think he broke his ribs, or he got knocked off the apron and broke his ribs off that big
Guardrail thing.
And then he went to do a dive later on, and he just couldn't get himself up, so he just threw himself over the top rope and like head planted into the lads, the Kings of the North. But yeah, no, that was a really good match, or that was a really good show as well. To have the main event was, I think it was Jigsaw, Pete Dunne, and Ryan Smile for the Money in the Bank. I think.
Yeah, that was a brilliant match.
Brilliant match. Jigsaw as well was obviously, I don't need to say how good Pete
He's
Dunne
a super talent.
Jigsaw is just so good.
Yeah.
Really, like, really underrated, I think. Really cool guy as well, but definitely his stuff in the ring is incredible. Can't remember who we worked on that show. I remember now. Yeah, it was the Fabulous Nikki and Ultra Star Angel Cruz. Yeah, really, they're two of my best mates in wrestling as well. So that was great to go out there and wrestle against those two. But it was a good match as well.
The Cebu with the broken ribs didn't deter him. We bumped into him in the pub afterwards in the Tom's house, drinking a few pints, acting like everything was grand.
Yeah, that's it. I went up to him and I was like, "Oh, look, I know I was wrestling on the card and all, but can I get a picture with you?" And he was like, "No, kid, fuck off." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "I'm only joking. Come here." I was like, "Oh, this guy."
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, no, really cool. Great to have him there as well.
Who was your favorite opponent in OTT? Looking back on it, like,
looking back on it, I always loved working the lads from flats. I'd say I've had probably the majority of my matches against like one of them or both of them. But I think I'd probably have to say Kings of the North. I think we wrestled them so many times in OTT, and like just never can't think of a time I had a bad match with them. Yeah, I think the Corvin and Bonesaw, just like they're two great lads, two brilliant talents. And obviously Duncan Disorderly, who doesn't wrestle anymore now, so good, super athletic, just absolute monster in the ring. That's I kind of base that off as well. That's my one of my favorite matches. I think, if not my favorite match that I was a part of, was against them in Limerick. Yeah, definitely. So I would say Kings of the North, if I was to say anybody. But then I worked guys that I learned a lot from, like Kenny Williams. Learned a lot from working him, and then even like Be Cool as well. Worked a match against Kenny Williams and Be Cool, and then worked with Be Cool as well as a tag team. And he's just, if he was wrestling anywhere else but Ireland, like, I'd say he'd be full time. You know, it's so hard to get full time work here in Ireland as a wrestler. Like, you have to kind of go, you have to kind of go abroad. Like, so yeah, no, I'd say he was. Sorry,
COVID.
It just hurt me so much to compliment Barry like that. No, if he was wrestling in England, I'd say he'd definitely be full time. Yeah, I think, like, yeah. So I just answered this really long just to say things, but you learn a lot off everybody you work with, especially and even working with Joe as a tag team. Like, great mind for the business that he'll always come back and just give you feedback about what happened in the match. Like,
speaking of England, you went over there. Was it last year or the year before? Everything's
two
morphing into one.
2 years ago now, yeah, September, August 2 years ago. Yeah, myself and B Cool went over, wrestled in London for Project W, and then wrestled in Bournemouth for, can't remember the name, WrestleForce, yeah. Yeah, really good, really good. It was almost like we were working in a place called the Resgal. It's like a smaller version of the Tivoli. Like, it was really, really good. It was like you're in there and you kind of get Tivoli vibes off it, and the crowd were just so good as well. So like, yeah, myself, Rocky Mac, and Barry or B Cool worked. Costa K, Malik, and Big G. They were Cost Industries, I think. Yeah, that was absolutely such an enjoyable match. Like, had so much fun in it.
Is there much difference between the English crowd and the Irish crowd?
See, I'd say the Irish, like, probably just me being biased, but like the Irish crowd I think are better because, I mean, nothing's ever going to beat that Tivoli crowd. And then even going to OTT Contenders and stuff and seeing, that crowd in the ringside, it's like they're just so good. They're just so into everything, and they give you so much as well. But that crowd now was probably the closest to OTT you'd get, like, the one in London. Now, the one in Bournemouth the next day was kind of that was just a family friendly show, so that wasn't really, you're not really going to get much out of them. Because it's just kids that like it, and then their mom and dads that'll just be silent throughout the whole thing because they have no interest in it. Like, yeah.
What's the most controversial thing you've seen at a kids show?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Just thought of that question there now. Does that come to mind?
I don't think I've seen that many controversial things.
Or something where the parents go, "Oh, Jesus," or
I don't know if this is the story now for certain, because I wasn't there. From what I heard, I think it was Duncan Disorderly definitely against somebody, and I think he took a what's it called? He took like a suplex into the corner and landed on his neck, and he pretended that he was really, really hurt and that he had broken his neck, and then, like, the referee's going over to him and he's like pretending like he's just like completely out, that his neck is broken, and then everybody in the crowd starts panicking. And I think, like, it was either his mom or something was there, or like one of his relatives was there, and they were all panicking. And then, like, and his opponent didn't even know, like, what was going on. And then his opponent went over to the neck and he rolled him up. And it was just like, had everybody just worrying about, like, that your man had actually, like, broken his neck or even died in the ring. Like, but again, I wasn't there, so I just remember hearing that story. It was about 4 years ago now that I heard that story. But yeah, I think that'd probably be the most controversial, because I don't think people. I think we're very wary when we go out in front of those crowds to not say anything. I mean, I was chanting Brits out at the one in Bournemouth, but they couldn't even understand what I was saying. Like, especially when I was, it's just hadn't a believe. Yeah, that's probably the most controversial.
So it's Undertaker's last hurrah tonight in WWE. So, is there any particular match that comes to mind that you think was his best, or one that you liked?
Well, as soon as you say the name Undertaker, I immediately think of that Shawn Michaels match at WrestleMania. But the two of them, back to back, they're just absolutely amazing. I also think a lot of the stuff he did with Brock Lesnar as well when I was growing up in, like, 2002 and 2003 was really good. And the Hell in a Cell against Brock Lesnar is definitely something that comes to mind. But yeah, such a great talent, and imagine going for that long. But probably should have packed it in before that Goldberg match. It's just awful.
I somehow get the feeling that it's not quite over yet, even though this is the last hurrah.
It never is. Like the last hurrah for him was about 3 years ago as well, when he was wrestling Sting, I think it was, at Survivor Series. Was it? Oh no, it was Triple H, wasn't it? He was wrestling. He was wrestling somebody, and it was like, oh, this is the last Undertaker match ever. So the Brock Lesnar match was supposed to be the last match ever, and then obviously the money comes in, I think, and the Saudi Arabian thing comes in, and that's obviously a lot of money. But like Ric Flair as well. Ric Flair was had to retire from WWE because of that match against Shawn Michaels, and then fucked off to TNA, and then came back to WWE. So it never ends with them. It's the same with Hulk Hogan as well. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Undertaker show up at WrestleMania in 2 years' time, or even next year.
Yeah, it's hard to have the Undertaker's last appearance and no crowd there as well.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's 30 years of Taker. I think it is. I remember I saw it on social media. So I think that they're just making a big deal, saying, "Oh, it's 30 years of Taker, so this is his last hurrah," and then it won't be, he'll come back. And as well, especially if you've been around the business for so long, 30 years is a good chunk of his life. It's going to be very hard to stay away from the wrestling business, and especially you're going to get, especially if he's sitting at home and he's just getting temptations just to go back, and if he gets a call then from either Triple H or Vince, he'll want to go back, And it was it's like kind of anyone, if they're sitting at home and they get a call, I was like, oh, do you want to come back? And even Mike Tyson now, this weekend, Jones, he's obviously got a call told, this is the money that's happening here. Do you want to come back and give it a go? And he's like, yeah, fuck it. What else am I doing?
He's on Cameo as of yesterday, The Undertaker, but he released 30 cameos for $1,000 each, and they sold out yesterday.
Really? Oh my God. There's some serious money in that cameo stuff.
30 grand for taking a few videos in the house. Not bad.
That's good. You should start doing that, Mars.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be very successful. So there was a bit of sad news this year when Ryan Smile passed away. What are your memories with him?
Yeah, that was real shocking. I think it just happened so quickly, and he was obviously such a huge part of OTT's history, and I wouldn't have been massively close to him. We would have just wrestled on the same shows when he was over here, but it definitely hit me because it's that's somebody that I used to know, that's tragically passed away, but yeah, some of the memories though, definitely, obviously all of him in the Tivoli, he was just an incredible talent. He used to go out there and throw everything to the crowd. He used to just he used to put himself through absolute wars in there just for the sake of putting on a show, and that's something that has to be admired. And that's what wrestling is. It's giving everything for a crowd to not go home disappointed. He knew that they paid to see him, and that he was going to give them their money's worth, and especially when he was champion. But I'll never forget how he used to come back after every match, and or even before every match, he'd go out and say oh, none of you bother out there today, because I'm going to go out there and steal the show. And you look at it and you go, do you know what, that is so cocky. But then he'd go out there and he'd back it up every single time. And the lasting memory is with him is when myself and Rocky Mack were having that kind of feud. We had a match against Terry Thompson and Ballymon Bruiser, and he hit the ropes for the people's elbow, and I went to super kick him, and we were kind of debating all day whether or not to super kick him, whether or not I should super kick him, and then we just decided ultimately, that's not. I'll fake it. You hold on to the ropes, and then we'll, and then we just build up the suspense so we don't hit each other. And then he was watching backstage. I had no idea he was watching backstage. And we come back, and he was like, oh my God, mate, that was incredible. You like, I saw the super kick coming, and I thought you were going to hit the super kick, and then you didn't hit the super kick, and it was, oh my God, it was amazing. And like, normally like, I'd be like, oh yeah, no, thanks very much. But it was coming from Ryan Smile. I was like, that's just the ultimate praise, like, for somebody backstage at an OTT show. Yeah, it's so sad. Like, what happened, but it kind of, and it hit home as well about, like, you have to kind of just check up on people, because you never know what people are going through, especially now with all this going on. Like, you know, people could be losing their businesses and losing, like, really important loved ones. It really just hammers home the point of have to look after each other, you know. And it's you know, we did a great thing with the GoFundMe, you know. Joe set it up, and it was really good. But yeah, I don't think any amount of money is going to replace the spirit and the talent and the person that he was. Like,
Yeah, and he was there from the very beginning. Sure, we talked about it before, that first main event.
Yeah, him,
the Tivoli,
him,
Jigsaw,
him and Pete Dunne actually wrestled on the first show, and I remember watching that, and that was Pete Dunne and Ryan Small when they were both really, really young, and I remember just seeing it going, oh my God. Like, I was obviously younger, like, but I remember going, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, they're just two absolute stars in the making. And yeah, that's kind of what just sticks with me. Just a lot of the just seeing him all the time in the Tivoli, like, it'd blow you away. Like, you could go in there and, like, not like wrestling, and just come out and see Ryan Smile, and just come out and be a huge fan of wrestling and a huge fan of Ryan Smile.
Yeah. So what does the future hold for you? Are you partaking in any more wrestling, or?
I'd absolutely love to, and I hate it because I can't, because I've had to essentially retire from my career in wrestling because my shoulder. I've got a horrible, like, shoulder injury that just won't go away. It just keeps coming out of its socket every now and again. Well, most times I'm wrestling, and, like, sometimes when I'm doing daily stuff, like, I put on my coat there last week and it came out. Like, I've been seeing physios, and it's just not. It didn't really work. So I think the damage has been done so much that I'd probably have to get surgery. But as a student doing his masters, I'm not really sure I can afford surgery at the moment. So at the moment, it doesn't look like there's going to be anything. Like, I'd love to get involved in some of the backstage stuff, like, or behind the scenes stuff, you know, helping Joe, maybe, like, with the kind of promotion side, or, like, the business side or whatever. But as for the in-ring stuff, I don't think anytime soon I'll be back, unfortunately. But again, like we talked about Undertaker, you know, you never say never.
Never say never, since Vinnie Mac. Right, it was great catching up with you anyway.
You too, Morris. Thanks for having me here. It's
no problem.
Fantastic to talk to you again, and definitely meet up when this is all over.
Straight to McGowan's.
Straight to McGowan's of Harold's Cross.